Hey guys, just real quick, Cole and I just finished our podcast, but unfortunately the camera cut off about 17 minutes in, so I'm sorry, about 15 minutes in. I'm still learning the kinks, so I'm going to upload it. It's a good listen. You only get a video for about 15 minutes of it, but I'm going to upload it and let y'all have it still working out the kinks. Hopefully the next one will be a little better. Thank y'all. It's recording. What Cole don't know is I have a surprise for our podcast, and I wanted to make sure he was on camera first before.
Good deal.
I got primes.
Thank you.
We got all of them, though. It's the best part. So for y'all that don't know, let me fix this microphone. Me and Cole have a crippling addiction to primes. We spend our entire paycheck on the flavors. So I bought 6, and we're going to drink these 6 primes throughout our podcast to see how it goes.
They should sponsor us by now.
Well, that's the goal. Is I'm going to keep once they find out how much money me and you spend on these primes, maybe they will sponsor us. So if you need to adjust that thing whenever, you can adjust it. It won't play too much feedback. All right, most important question, Cole. Oh, let me back up. Cole Kennedy on the podcast on the mats. Cole, what's your favorite prime flavor?
Grape.
Grape? All right, you can have the grape. I think I'm up in the air, like between orange. I know you like raspberry one too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if mine's orange, grape, or ice pop. Or Metamoon, actually. This one's pretty good, which we still haven't figured out what flavor Metamoon actually is. So Logan, if you're watching this, you need to tell us what.
Get some brains on it.
Yeah, I don't know what flavor it is. I would almost call it like a citrus maybe or something. So I think I'm going to go just mix it up, though. I'm going to go lemon lime today. The grape packs a punch. It's to be, what are they, 20 calories? Mm-hmm. 20 calories. They're better than your regular sports drinks for sure. Yeah, let's put these high in front so when they're watching it, maybe they'll sponsor us. What if they just after this they just send us cases of primes?
I wouldn't be mad about it at all.
That would be the best thing ever.
I probably wouldn't ever drink water again.
No, if I could afford to just drink these all day, I would never drink water again.
Me either. For
sure. Between this and my Monsters in the morning, like I could get away with never drinking a sports drink. So this podcast compared to the last one is we got some questions on board. But before we get into all the questions, I want to ask just some about all our guests as we go. So Cole, start out from a young childhood. Tell us about yourself. Give us the brief and skinny. You don't have to tell us what your first year, second year, and third year of life was like. But give us.
Okay. So I played ball growing up, all throughout my childhood. Baseball. I played into high school, and ended up quitting ball my sophomore year of high school. I'm a big outdoorsman, so that was kind of getting in the way. Baseball was getting in the way of hunting and fishing, playing golf, and just anything outdoors. So I kind of gave it up, and when I was about 12 or 13, I had a staph infection that got in my bloodstream.
Ooh.
So I was in the hospital for about 4.5, 5 weeks, and had surgery on my femur, had part of it removed, and that was an adjustment.
Part of what removed? The femur or the staph? Oh,
femur.
I thought you were going to say that. So part of your femur was removed.
Yeah, part of my femur was removed. They took out a couple of inches of it, which luckily it grew back from my age. But
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had no clue that.
But yeah, pretty much just baseball in the outdoors was my
Childhood. So that's something new I didn't know. So it grew back, which I didn't know bones. Man, I know they grow back together when they break, but I never thought about like a piece of it being removed and it growing back. Did that affect sports at all?
It did. It affected baseball. That happened in May, mid of May, and it set me back several months to let it heal and stuff. But they didn't take off like the length. They just shaved.
Okay,
some
that makes
of the
more
bone
sense.
off.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
not
sitting
like
here thinking
there's
like,
not a void there.
what? They
just,
cut your femur in half, which I know they didn't. Chop your leg off and
Right.
reattach it, but
yeah, they just they shaved some of it off basically because they say once like the staph infection that gets in your bloodstream, it'll just sit there and just go through your entire body and then
Right.
you just find somewhere to latch on to.
So I'm assuming the infection didn't start on the femur. Do you know where it started?
I have no clue. I was just getting really sick. I'm not big into doctors and all that. So I started getting really sick, and we went to the urgent cares, and they kept sending me home, thinking stomach bug or something. I went to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. They sent me home, and then I woke up the next morning after being at CHOA and couldn't walk on my leg.
Oh, wow.
So
how much time do you think that was between like getting sick and getting sent home?
Probably a week to 2 weeks of going to the doctor several times, being sent home several times, going to CHOA, probably a week or two.
I wonder if that's what happened to my calf. Do you remember last year when I had that injury on my calf?
I believe so.
It was like internal. I didn't have a sore or anything. And they kind of did the same thing. They sent me home, went back. The spot was hot. It had a fever, but I didn't think it was a staph infection or anything because there was no cut or injury. It was all internal.
Mm-hmm.
But finally, a round of antibiotics, 2 rounds of antibiotics killed it. So it makes me wonder if I had some kind of staph within my bloodstream. Wow.
Very possible.
So who done the surgery? CHOA?
CHOA.
Yeah. Figured with that age, I guess CHOA would do everything.
Yeah.
So they antibiotics, cut your femur, shave off partial bone. What was the healing process like?
So I had surgery early, the first morning I was there, had surgery. And then that next morning, physical therapy was coming in the room. And with all the medicine and stuff, I was just out of it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I didn't feel like doing any physical therapy. So I kind of like just chickened out on that first day.
Yeah.
And it started, of course, being wheeled around, in a wheelchair. And then it started with a walker. And I had to take it like literally step by step, just walking with a walker, kind of learning how to walk again, learning how to bend that knee.
How to be a kid again?
Yeah. So it was pretty tough. Just because I was afraid, even though I didn't have surgery on the actual knee, I was afraid that, bending it wrong or squatting or anything like that would just shatter it. Because I just
didn't know. Right.
So it was tough. But I think probably 3 months after surgery, I was back playing ball.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
I wasn't going, 100% or anything,
of course.
but I was back playing.
What positions did you play?
I mainly played pitcher and first.
Okay.
But I could play third. I used to catch.
Yeah.
Before that, and then after the surgery, I quit catching.
So one of my best friends I worked with at the sheriff's office, he played high school ball, some college ball, and then he coached some local teams. He always told me the catchers were the most athletic on the field.
I can see that.
Yeah, he would always say the catcher is because they got the arm. Mm-hmm. They're always making the dynamic movements. For some reason, catchers are always sluggers, it seems like. So,
yeah.
I don't know what's the So it makes sense that the catcher would be the most athletic on the field.
And once you get to a certain point, playing ball, the catchers call the game for each pitcher.
I guess I think that's what he was saying too.
So for a catcher to learn several different pitchers, how they pitch, and to call the game, they're very valuable for a team.
Yeah, they're playing I guess like the captain role within the
That's right.
Wow. Okay. So baseball up until teenage years into hunting, fishing, outdoor stuff. Then, so what made you quit baseball to just chase outdoor stuff?
It was mainly the physical part.
Yeah.
Just running and just being lazy, really. But I enjoy doing all that physical, working out and stuff now. But I hated it.
Yeah.
In school, and we'd have like track practices. We wouldn't practice baseball because somebody would get in trouble in class, and
poles or
we'd
whatever.
be running poles or anything like that. So it was just, I just got tired of it.
Yeah.
And the coaches, so I ended up just quitting. And my parents always had the rule that if you played sports, they would pay for your gas and your car insurance.
Yeah.
If you didn't play sports, you had to get a job. So
I went to work at something.
I went to work at Truett's until I graduated.
Yeah.
So they were serious about that part. If you wasn't playing sports, you were going to be working, paying for your own gas and whatnot.
You had both parents in the house, mom and dad?
My parents they divorced. I was young. I was probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That kind of put me on the spot because I don't really remember, but they divorced and they get along. So it's not like they can be in the same building and, everything's normal, which is kind of rare.
Yeah. Well, that's
people.
what we've been talking about this in the gym some as far as like the kids that are doing good in jiu-jitsu, like at the highest level. It seems like they all have something in common, and it is like a great support system. Mm-hmm. Like most of all these kids seem to have a mother and father in the house. They're all homeschooled too, so they're able to dedicate a lot of time to the sport. So it plays a role. Mm-hmm. That's why I was kind of curious. Like that's something I want to talk about other people or with the people as we progress through this thing. Like, what was your support system like growing up? To see how that plays a impact on you when you're older.
Yeah, I had a great support system.
Yeah.
So I can't complain at all because every single baseball game I had pretty much my entire family there.
Oh,
Anything
nice.
I've ever done competitive wise, they have always been a big
They're
part
cheering
of it.
you on. Yeah, that's a big help. So that's through middle school, high school, you start working. What happens after you graduate?
After I graduated, I was trying to get an idea on what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want college.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier for men to get jobs out of high school, good paying trade jobs. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to go to work for the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation. Mm-hmm. And I turned 18 the July right after I graduated, and in August.
July what?
July 30th.
30th, okay. I remember it was in the summer, but I couldn't remember when. It's right near my birthday.
Okay. But I turned 18 July 30th, and then I think it was August 16th I started with the state.
Oh, nice.
So it was right after I turned 18. And the only reason I waited is because you had to be 18 to work for them. So I went ahead and just started working and kind of went from there.
So you still work for the state.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been there now?
I've been there a little over 5 years. I worked on a crew for around 10 or 11 months, and then I got offered a job to be a maintenance engineer inspector for them. So I'm still affiliated with the state, but I'm just working for a different company.
So you're young. So you 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23, 24. How old are you?
24.
24. So fresh out of high school, start with the state, have been with the state ever since. So as far as like a bunch of jobs, is it the only two you've ever had, truants in the state?
I umpired a little, but I mean that's just a little side job. But those are the only two jobs.
Oh, very cool.
Had.
So, in this grand scheme of Cole's life between high school sports and work, where did JiuJitsu come from?
Pretty much like everybody else's story. Joe Rogan,
which one?
Podcast.
Which one was it? Do you remember which podcast? Exactly which one?
I don't. It was probably when he had like the MMA talk with a UFC fighter or something, because that's always kind of got my attention too. Yeah. And used to, when I would watch UFC fights and they went to the ground, I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to see the knockout.
Yeah, of course.
But once you understand a little bit about jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, when they go to the ground, like, you love it.
Yeah,
like, I love watching it now.
Yeah.
Because you know what the deal is. Yeah. You kind of know what's going on. But before, I was like, just, what are you doing? Just stand back up. Get back up. We don't want to see
stand
this.
Up. And that's
stand up.
The jiu-jitsu joke, you know. Yeah. Just stand up. Get out of that.
Yeah.
And it's just not that easy all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot tougher than it looks.
Like, that's something that I'm trying to find through the people I talk to. Because I guarantee you probably 80% of the people in the gym are going to say the same thing. They're all going to say Joe Rogan or Jocko podcast. And I made that comment in the last podcast with Brian that, you know, they've been like huge ambassadors for the sport. So I'm grateful for Jocko and Joe Rogan. And I knew Jocko before he was popular through the jiu-jitsu scene, because I knew he was Dean's coach and I seen him do some stuff. And so I kind of knew of him. I didn't really realize, I didn't realize at all he was going to become as big as he did. Like, he is absolutely humongous now. And so I'm curious sometimes if the person's going to come in and say, yeah, I was watching the Jocko on Joe Rogan podcast, that first one. That's what blew Jocko up. And I wonder if that's what gets people into jiu-jitsu, is that particular episode. Because it's, from my understanding, it's one of the most played episodes that they have. So I'm going to go through some of these questions. What's the average morning routine like for you, Cole?
Usually wake up, drink a cup of coffee, or wake up and, get dressed for work, do all that fun stuff, and then drink a cup of coffee on the way to work. And if I'm not working, I'm usually hunting or maybe playing golf or spending time with my family or anything like that. But majority of the time I'm at work. So
when it comes to jiu-jitsu and your schedule, you mainly train at night, the evening class, but you've dabbled into all the classes.
I have. I've kind of got a funky schedule at times. I work, night shifts sometimes. Sometimes I might be off on a random day during the week to work that weekend. But I like them all. Whenever I can get in here, I try to get in here.
That's why I want to get everybody in the gym to kind of having those diverse training programs, because it's easy to show up to the same class all the time and train with the same people. But the diversity of going between morning, lunch, and nighttime classes really change things. And it seems like the ones that end up getting the diverse schedule seem to progress pretty well. So I wonder if that has something to do with it, just getting all the diversity. So how long have you been training jiu-jitsu now?
I started in June, the end of June, in 2021.
Okay.
So a year and some change now.
Okay. So we're right at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 months or so. So what's your rank?
I'm a 4-stripe white belt.
Ooh, so it's getting close. That's what I wanted to bring up, because I'm gonna start throwing some belts around here very soon, and I think I might have one with your name on it, but it's gonna be a surprise. I try to surprise people with it, and I got Liz pretty good last night. I surprised her. So I promoted Liz to blue belt last night, one of our other training partners here. She's been training about 18 months, something like that. She started around April of 2021. So we got a good group, about 5 or 6 of y'all that all started within 2 months of each other that have stuck around. So I'm excited for this group. And I was talking to Nikki about it last night, that 6-month window from March of last year throughout the summer of last year, all those people, or not all of them, but majority of those people have stuck around.
They have.
And it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have a little blue belt army of that same generation of people. It's pretty exciting. So 4 stripes on your white belt, about 15, 16 months of training. What's your future look like through jiu-jitsu? What's your thoughts on jiu-jitsu? What's your goals?
Just become better. And I kind of have an idea on, like escapes and submissions and some positions, not to be cocky or anything and say I can do them all or anything, but just to be better, like not rush the process, because as long as you're consistent, showing up and, actually training and working hard for it, it'll just come to you.
Yeah.
You'll finally start to understand stuff, and just getting started is the hardest part, and probably the first 6 months from the time you start 6 months in is the hardest period.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that?
Mainly because people have big egos and they don't like to lose. And if you come in here, you're going to learn real quick to lose. And even to smaller people, it doesn't matter. So I think mainly for me, it was like the mental part of it. Just coming in here and losing every single round. But for some reason, you just keep coming back. And for me, it was the people in here that kept bringing me back.
Okay.
So
how was your ego when you started? How was it losing every round?
I've never really been like a cocky guy. Yeah. I'm pretty confident, but I'm not being cocky. But like when I come in here, the first several months, I just got destroyed. Yeah. You're helpless. Yeah. So when somebody that knows a little bit about what they're doing, when they get their hands on you, it's over for somebody that doesn't know.
That's why I'm kind of curious, because that first 6 months of me getting my butt handed to me, it was that was a hard pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. And then you talk to some people, and it's like, oh, it's no big deal. And that's why I was kind of curious how the two different perspectives continue to show up. It's tough to get the full beat out of you for 6 months straight.
It is. It is. I think between the people in the gym and the progression you see, is at least for me, that's what kept bringing me back. Is because if you stick with it long enough and you're trying to get better, you will get better. Yeah. So once you see a little bit of progress and thinking on the fly, that's what brings people back, in my opinion. Yeah,
it's a fun game if you think about it as a game, trying to problem solve on the fly. Mm-hmm. I think that is what gets a lot of people, is the stimulation, I guess, the brain power it takes to continue. So that first 6 months, have you experienced any jiu-jitsu injuries yet?
My first week, I rolled my ankle.
Okay.
But other than that, just
nothing bad.
Minor stuff.
Aches and bruises, sore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why the reason I asked that, because if I can usually get people through that first 6 months, those people seem to stick around. Mm. It's you get someone in here that first month, 2 months, and then they really pop an elbow or a wrist or shoulder. They usually hurt themselves doing something crazy, and they don't understand that it's just part of the process. So that's why I was wondering if you experienced any of that injury adversity.
I haven't, luckily, other than a rolled ankle, which
Yeah.
week and a half, and I was good to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that's also going back onto that 6-month thing. I wish something I need to start doing is I need to video people on their first week. And then every 6-month anniversary when they're discouraged and they've been getting beat up for 6 months, it's like, hey, look at this 6-month version of you, 6 month ago version, and you would destroy that person.
Yeah, I was awful. Terrible. Like,
I made jokes about that, picking on you.
Yeah, and it's true. I was so bad.
I guess
like,
that wasn't the most professional thing of me to do, but
it doesn't bother me at all. But like, I see people coming here now, and like, their second day they were catching on, but that's just part of it. Everybody learns different. And but anyways, I like people coming here and like 2 classes later, they're doing pretty good for only having 2 hours from being in here, versus me, it was like 3 months. I just could not grasp like what to do.
I was picking on you. I remember it's like Cole was terrible at jiu-jitsu for 3-4 months, and all of a sudden, like, you hit your 4th month and you were pretty good all of a sudden. It's like something clicked overnight. Do you remember what it was? Like, if it was just something that just clicked, you heard something, saw something?
I don't really remember. I just I was rolling with somebody, and I just kind of reacted in a good way.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of mesmerized. I was like, oh my God, I just did something right. After 4 months of me not knowing what to do, I just did something right. But I think eventually it just kind of slowly but surely comes to you.
Yeah.
So everybody's different. Everybody learns different. There's like, look at Xavier.
Yeah.
He trains and he works for it.
Yeah, for sure.
He's helped me out a lot. There's so many people in the gym that helps me and helps others. So they got to get a little credit for that too.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's really the reason I started this podcast, is because I was talking with Derek about it this morning. I'm not naive to the fact that, like, I am surrounded by great people, like good people. It would be easy for me to sit here on a pedestal and say, look at this gym and environment I've built. Look how cool I am. But I'm not naive to the fact that none of this would be here without the people within the gym. And we've got a good group of people.
Yeah, we do.
A really good group of people that it seems like everyone really wants to see everybody grow. And once you have a group of people who want to see you succeed as much as they want to succeed, it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm extremely grateful. And that's why I was telling Derek this morning that, like, it's really, really nice that many people want to see me succeed. So it's like I kind of feel indebted to teach the best jiu-jitsu that I can teach, which I'm no great instructor or nothing, but if I can, it holds me accountable too to do the best I absolutely can, because we're surrounded by so many just phenomenal people. Mm-hmm. So I know you gave me the very humble answer of you just want to show up and get better, but as far as belts, ranks, years, progression, what's your goals look like through jiu-jitsu?
Well, everybody, I think maybe not everybody, but for me, I would eventually like to be a black belt one day. And to be honest with you, I don't care if it takes 20 years. Mm-hmm. It's just that goal.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like setting realistic goals is, for me, is, I want it in a timely manner, but it doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
So you want to give yourself like a good period, so hopefully within the next 20 years, I would eventually become a black belt, or before that, so.
Well, I can guarantee you, if you stay as consistent as you are, you'll be a black belt within 20 years. I can promise that. So 20 years is a long time.
It is.
I think. Have you researched how long it takes people to get a black belt any?
I haven't.
So the average, it seems like the average is at that 10-year mark. So the kind of standard that I've been looking at, like an hobbyist, which I would call us a hobbyist, it would take around that 8 to 10-year mark to get a black belt. World champion students, is about that 5-year mark, about a year at each belt. White belt, world champion, blue belt, purple, brown, black. So world champion level, I'm looking at about that 5 years. Hobbyist, somewhere between that 8 and 10-year mark. And it took me 10 years as a hobbyist to get my black belt. So I think it was appropriate. I messed up a little bit in my blue belt years of being lazy, and life just hit. It was busy. So hopefully life don't get too crazy for you, and you just zoom through those crazy years and get your black belt in that 8-year mark. So, all right, now I'm going to start hitting you with the hard questions, Colby. I was going to send these to him to let him prepare, but I figured the organic conversation that would come from it could be cooler. And I threw them together on the fly. I just didn't have time to send you two. That was a good excuse for me to use that. So far through jiu-jitsu, what has been your greatest success? Jiu-jitsu success.
Like, does this apply to anything?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu related?
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu related, or your greatest success that jiu-jitsu has helped with. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the mat.
For me, I get frustrated very easily. So, like, when I started jiu-jitsu, after doing it for a little over a year now, it's, you get put into bad positions all the time training. So now it's helped, like, not really with my anger, just, getting frustrated real easy. It's kind of helped with that, with just, when I try to do something, if something don't go my way, I just get kind of pouty about it and just frustrated. And then it just takes even longer to do that task because you're frustrated. I feel like jiu-jitsu's helped me out a lot with that. Just, staying calm. It's not the end of the world. Just figure it out. Take a break if you need to and just get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much philosophy on the mat, like, that you learn here that you can use in the real world.
I agree.
And we always talk about, like, the hour and a half, 2 hours you're at class, it really feels like an escape from reality sometimes. But you learn so much to take it back into reality. So that's a good one. I don't know what we would call that. I guess patience, maybe. The patience you learn from. Because you get put in bad positions a lot in jiu-jitsu. Really, really bad positions. So learning that, hey, I'm alive, it's not that bad. All right. So the next hard question, what's been your biggest failures through jiu-jitsu? Where have you failed throughout your jiu-jitsu journey, you think? That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a tough question. Like I said, I've never really been, like, cocky or anything, but you learn some stuff and you think you're better than, just say other white belts or so. And then you got a guy that comes in here and puts you on your fanny, and you're kind of sitting there looking at yourself like, I got 4 stripes, he's got 1 stripe. Why is he doing that to me?
Right.
So probably one of my biggest failures in jiu-jitsu is not, I don't mean this, like, I'm not trying to make this sound bad, but just kind of looking down, like, at the new guys and stuff. Like, and like I said, I don't mean that in a bad way, because
I get what you're saying.
any of the new people that come in, I would be the first one to volunteer to help them.
Absolutely.
But just, if they're wanting to train or something, probably just kind of, looking down on them and not understanding that, they might have been training for 6 months too, just bouncing around from gym to gym. That doesn't mean that you should be able to beat them, because when they beat you, I would just kind of beat myself up about
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's like, I've been training 4 months and this is first class and he just beat me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What matters is you just coming in here and doing what you need to do, training, keeping everybody safe. So that's probably one of my biggest failures is just beating myself up over.
That's a good answer. No, and I definitely get what you're saying because, that brand new student walks in could be a college athlete. It could have been, a high-level high school athlete, and then
could be a normal Joe, that works out of town all the time,
Right.
and he's been training for 6 years. He's just never been at one gym. So,
Right.
But that's probably it for me is just like, and I repeat, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's
no,
just,
I completely get that. And no, that's, what would we call that? I guess that's still ego again.
I would say so.
But you got to have, and the same thing, me and Derek was talking this morning about ego, and like, ego's not necessarily a bad thing. You got to have some kind of ego just to walk through the door, like just to get onto the mat. And you have to have some ego and confidence to stand toe-to-toe with a training partner and wrestle each other, tooth and nail.
Right.
So ego is, I guess when it's just misused or used inappropriately or is where it gets its downfall. So that's a good failure. That was a good answer. I like that. And I just want to commend you on it since we're on camera so that you reiterated 2 or 3 times. I'm not saying that in a bad way. No, I think I definitely get what you're saying, and it shows your humility and understanding your vulnerabilities and weaknesses. So it's a good thing. So we kind of know your goals. Your goals are just to progress and continue to train. Your failures and successes. What's your favorite jiu-jitsu game so far? Style of play, technique, submission. What's driving Cole to jiu-jitsu?
I would say half guard.
Yeah.
I love half guard, and I don't know really what it is about it, but I enjoy playing half guard, and I think really a lot of it has to do with like just rolling with bigger guys.
Yeah.
If you can get your knee shield up, then you can breathe.
Yeah.
But there again, if they squash it, you're in some trouble, and it's pretty convincing that you want to get out of it. But I would say half guard.
So you do train with a lot of bigger guys, and you're a bigger guy, but I wouldn't say you're. What's your weight?
I bounce between 195 and 200.
Yeah, I was about to say you're probably less than 200. So how come you get stuck with the 200 plusers all the time?
I don't know. It's just
no wonder you got smashed for 6 months straight. You're stuck training with the fat boys the whole time. It's like,
the heavyweights.
yeah, that's tough. Because it's funny sitting back. I kind of do it too. Is we all got our spots throughout the mats, kind of where we train and where we go, and it seems like the heavier guys all gravitate towards y'all's end of the mat. So I like to kind of stay in the center, and I'll bounce between the lightweights and heavyweights, which I've noticed over this past 6 months. I've been avoiding heavyweights more and more and train because we got so many people like my size now, so it's helpful. So I'll train with people my size or some of the smaller people more often than I do the heavier people.
It can be miserable.
Yes, it can.
It's good for you, though.
Yeah, it definitely builds that character we're talking about of learning how to the framing. When you're talking about half guard, using the appropriate framing and offensive or defensive posture from the bottom. I enjoy half guard, too, for a smaller guy. I play a lot of half guard for my size. And it's just a very, very versatile guard. You can play very good offense, very good defense. Don't need a lot of explosive movement. I'm a fan of it. All right, so we kind of know your style of game now. How would you coach someone to defeat your jiu-jitsu game? What is your biggest nemesis? Because everyone in the gym is going to watch this and they're like, oh, Cole wants to sucker me in this half guard. I'm about to give him his weakness.
Yeah. I don't really know.
I can answer this one.
There's so many weaknesses.
I've already finished my lemon lime. I'm moving to the Meta Moon.
What do you think? Well, what's on your mind?
All right,
about
if I was coming in to compete against Cole, and I knew he was going to want to suck me into his half guard because that's where he's comfortable, I'm gonna keep my hips and feet back and do a lot of outside passing, try to make you chase me. So then, as you chase me with your half guard, I would redirect and go more north south or to the back.
Yep,
that is if I was playing a passer's game. Now, if for some reason I got stuck on the bottom with Cole, most half guard players like to pass from top half too. That's what makes half guard weird, is that you absolutely love to play it defensively. You love to play it offensively. You like to play it from bottom half and top half. So I like to pass half guard. I like to go into half guard so I can get a good chest-to-chest connection and start to pass from there. So if I knew you would probably do the same thing, you would enter my half guard to try to put my back flat, get good chest-to-chest connection, and pass through my half guard. So I would, from a bottom game, I would get good sleeve control against you and really work a very disciplined spider guard to keep your hips away so you can't smash me flat. Did I guess it right? Is that how?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
This is how we
pretty
defeat
accurate.
Cole.
Yeah.
So next week, if you see any of these big guys trying to play spider guard on you, they listen to the recipe.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to have plenty of time to drill it all week long, too.
Yeah, that's true. What's your favorite drilling weeks? What's your
Oof.
Because we
probably mount attacks and mount defense.
I know you've been working some mount stuff here lately. How do you think your mounts progressed so far over the past?
Night and day.
Yeah.
It's night and day.
I feel like we spent a lot of time doing pin escapes from side control and attacking from side control that a lot of people within the gym, their mount game was lacking a little bit. So I've really focused on driving home some mount stuff the past 6 months too. I know you made that comment about that's what you wanted to work. So it's been night and day difference so far?
It has.
What do you know what's helped you with that, or is it just time on target?
It's really just, drilling it and sparring people and getting them out or having them mount me. But it was the whole maintaining it.
Yeah.
Was the problem. Like, it's hard enough to get there.
Yeah.
And then you do all that work to get there and to mount somebody for 5 seconds and they bridge you over or put you in half guard and then, go from there and start all the way back over. But it was maintaining it was the hardest part.
Yeah.
For me. For most people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like everybody's mount has gotten better. We've really driven it home here lately. What's your most favorite thing to do outside of jiu-jitsu? Because I know jiu-jitsu's priority right now. Your most fun. What's your favorite recreation outside of jiu-jitsu?
This time of year, hunting.
Yeah. So, tell us about your hunting. You bow and rifle?
I bow and rifle hunt.
Okay.
The past 2 years, I've been taking my bow a lot more.
Yeah.
Just nothing against, rifle hunters or anything. I just like the challenge.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different ball game. But hunting and just spending time with family.
Yeah. You've been hunting on the weekends much here since that's why I haven't seen you at Saturday classes as much, because you're spending time in the woods.
Yeah, I'm usually in the woods on Saturdays,
of course,
and Sundays. So it's I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but during hunting season, it'll be rare to see me on the weekends.
I don't blame you, you know, if that's your passion and you're enjoyable.
That's why I make time for it throughout the week.
Yeah, you're consistent throughout the week. And that's a good thing to bring up now, is that's something, as I would still call you a beginner, that you've done very, very well, is the consistency, but the consistency with balance. You know, and you're a younger person, you probably recover fairly well still. How were you smart enough to find that balance so young and through your jiu-jitsu so far? What forced you to find that balance, sir?
I feel like I used to do too much working out and jiu-jitsu, and I would just hurt all week long, wouldn't have any time to recover. And that was from working out like 6 days a week and then training jiu-jitsu like 2 days a week. So I've kind of cut it back, and I'll work out 3 or 4 days a week and do jiu-jitsu 3 or 4 days a week. But just a healthy diet and stretching and drinking a lot of water. Just, I don't know if it's just, you know, the diet that helps. I think it's probably a little bit of everything that helps, and being young also helps.
Yeah.
But I just try to keep a healthy diet, stay hydrated, and don't overdo it. There's a difference between not coming because you're hurt and not coming because you don't want to come and you're just tired. But if you're like very sore or hurting or anything like that, like, it's okay to take days off.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to punish you for it. But if you're just being lazy and wanting to sleep, that's just not an excuse.
You'll punish yourself enough for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where do you think that discipline in you came from? Why would you?
I really don't know. I just, throughout high school and stuff, I was always kind of chubby.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up one day, I was 18 or 19. I just woke up one day and was like, I'm tired of, being chubby.
Yeah.
I started eating healthy, and I went cold turkey on everything, like cut out sodas, cut out tea, whatever. So I went cold turkey, started working out, running, and all that, and lost a bunch of weight, and I just haven't given up since. Like, I hate to eat unhealthy foods. I will eat bad just like everybody else, but I try to minimize that as much as I can.
That's something you and I have talked about a lot lately, is trying to clean up diets and new things to help with diets, especially being working folks. You got to sometimes eat in the truck, on the go, in between classes. So where were you at your heaviest, do you know?
230 pounds.
230. That's a lot of weight on your frame. What about your lightest?
170.
Ooh, you got – that's skinny for you. That's my size.
It was I was tiny, so I had to put some meat back on the bones.
Yeah. So 170 wasn't comfortable, and 230 is not comfortable. So you're pretty happy around that 190? That 90 to 200 area? I
would like to be around 185 to 195. Just anywhere in between there would be, I think I felt my best between there.
Yeah, I notice when I get super lean, the injuries bump up, the fatigue bumps up, and then if I focus on putting weight on and I bulk up and get a little heavier, now I feel sluggish, and I start to feel just deathly tired cardio-wise. So I think finding that good, happy weight for your frame is a game changer.
I believe so, too.
And I wonder, I don't know if these will help or not, but 0 sugar and 20 calories. So if this addiction don't mess us up, maybe we're onto something.
If it helps at all, we're in for a good ride.
That's right, because they are good. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple more tough questions, and we'll wrap this thing up. This one's not that tough. It can be tough. Name and describe a couple of the most influential people in your life, and tell us why.
All right. The first one I'd probably do my parents combined.
Okay.
Just my mom and dad combined is number one. Both of them have only worked, like 2 or 3 jobs their entire life, and my mom still works 2 of them to this day.
I'm gonna interrupt you. That's probably where your discipline comes from, then.
So they've always been like a big support system. They work really hard for what they have, and then, let me back up. First is God. So then number 2 would be my mom and dad. My grandfather, he's been a big influence on my life. He was a business owner, and he works really hard, and he grew up in the old days, so it was tough love.
Is he still around?
He is.
Good. Very good.
He is. So we just celebrated his birthday the end of October. But
is that when y'all all went to the lake, or where'd y'all go? Family trip, bunch of boys. You had a guys trip. Y'all went somewhere.
We went to, it was our whole family went up to North Georgia and camped.
Yeah.
In October.
And that was for his birthday?
No, he didn't get to go with us on that trip, but that was just a little family adventure. And then I'd have to say my step-parents, because they've always, been really good support system and backed me in whatever I've done, and always been there for sports or anything.
So mom and dad got divorced early on. They remarried. Mm-hmm. So you've got 4 good parents, it sounds like.
I do.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I for a bad situation as a kid to experience into them being the most influential people in your life, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Kind of lucky in a way.
Yeah. So you said number 1 was God in your life. Did those 4 help drive that? And your grandpa?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does that play out in your life? What's your relationship with God and church? It
could always be better,
of course.
But really, the biggest thing is, I went to church growing up, and I guess just being young, you just kind of just went because your parents told you to go, and then went through middle school, and then kind of quit going. Not really for any particular reason. We just kind of stopped going, and then we'd pick back up and go again. But I need to get back into it, because like you and Paul are like the 2 in the gym that just talk about it, all the time. And that's what I need. I like to hear about that. Like any, scriptures or quotes or just anything like that. Like you and Paul y'all talk about that a lot.
Well, this is kind of putting me on the spot, but I feel like because you say that, I feel obligated to like kind of talk about that and answer it a little bit. Like my relationship with church itself has changed a little bit lately, and I haven't been consistent at going to church like I should. But I've been going to church online, and because I've been putting a lot of energy here, and this is going to sound really bad, but I don't know how to say it. Sometimes me going to church, I felt like I was just going to church. Just going. And now, like, that's why I'm doing all this stuff. I'm really, really working hard to build good Christ-like relationships with more people. And I would love for our school, and with the great people we're surrounded by, like I was sitting around with a couple guys the other night we were talking scripture, and we've got so many good people here. And one day we're going to have a worship service and jiu-jitsu going on at the same time. And there's an influential video I have on my phone. It was day 1 of the gym opening up at the old spot. And it was me, Paul, James, Alex, Skylar, Cecilia, and I think I'm missing somebody. Brian, the original core group of people. Y'all all know who they are. And we were training, and I always play clean music at the gym. There's kids running around, and I don't want to be that guy to negatively influence a kid. And there's an influential video on my phone. It's about a 30-second clip where, the first time we've ever trained in the new spot, the sun's beating through the windows. You got worship playing in the background, and it's like that picture plays in my head 24/7. Like when I seen that from 6, 8, 10 people, whatever it is, up to now every night class we're having 35, nearly 40 people in here on the mats. Like we can disciple and witness to a lot of people through jiu-jitsu. And it's been one of my goals is, of course, I'm passionate about jiu-jitsu and I'm passionate about Jesus. I'm more passionate about Jesus than I am jiu-jitsu, but it seems like jiu-jitsu occupies more time than it should sometimes. Mm-hmm. So if I can combine those passions together to where we can really make a difference in the community, like I'm excited about that. And I appreciate you saying that Paul and I are, being good representatives of Scripture. All right. One more question and we'll call it. I won't harass you anymore. I know you got things to do today. This is the toughest question of them all, though. If there was one more question I could ask you on this podcast, what would it be? What did I skip over? What should I have asked you? That's gonna be my outro question for people. What's something that the world needs to know about Cole, or a question I could have asked?
Oh my goodness, that is a tough question to answer it with a question.
Yeah,
I really don't know. Like you threw me a curveball.
Yeah. Good thing you play baseball. You're ready for it.
I struggle with those. Gosh. I don't know. I really don't.
That's a tough one. That's
why I'm going to have to come back to you.
I wanted to throw that one on you because I'm going to do that with everybody. That's going to be my outro question is, what was something that I missed that the world needs to know? What should I have asked you?
I'm going to have to get back with you on that one.
But it makes it good for the podcast, though. It makes it good. All right, we'll call it at that, Cole. I want to we'll close out here in the last little bit. I want to commend you on what you've done here at the gym, being the leader that you are, that you definitely are always willing to help out the newer people. In fact, there's a young man that's looks up to you that just started training here recently because of whatever he saw through you and your jiu-jitsu journey. So that's one person that you brought in. It just shows your leadership qualities. I'm excited, or I'm glad to see your progression, and I'm excited to see how you continue to progress. And we'll be wrapping a fat blue belt around you soon, but I'm gonna keep it a secret. I don't want to tell. I like to. Is there something about surprising people with a new belt that's extremely gratifying? Like, it was cool to get my black belt for sure. It was cool to get all my belts. But nothing compares to being able to wrap a new belt around someone else. And what'd you think about last night's with Liz? Did you see her emotion?
Yeah, she deserves it. She works hard. She's consistent too. But she deserves it, and congratulations to her.
That's a good feeling, being able to tie a belt around. And it's like I've tied a lot of belts around people now, and it's always cool every single time. There's something.
I kind of knew your speech was going into something, but I was sitting there thinking, I was like,
why is he talking so much?
Not really, but I was like, is somebody about to get a new belt?
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for the support. Please check out all our social medias. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You can find us at Wolfhunter JJC or Wolfhunter Jiu-Jitsu Club. Also, if you like American-made gear and American-made gis, please check out OriginMain.com. Check out 72 Supply Company And at 72 Supply and Origin, you can use coupon code HOWL10 and get 10% off your next order. Again, thank you so much for all the support, and I can't wait to see you on the mats.